that your next boss might be a sociopath.
It is not always about the money, to be honest.
At the end of the day, you have to understand what your people want.
AI might take over, but there will always be in the need of a person who will have to direct the AI actually.
I'm doing a mediocre job at two
Yeah.
companies collecting more money.
Why is he getting paid more than me?
Culture is definitely not pizza party or box of donuts. And Permalancer is a freelancer who you hire over and over again.
Welcome to the talk. I'm your host, Vugar Usizadeh, and today we are talking about talent in tech industry, and I have my two beautiful guests, Anuj and Lucia, with me. Let's start talking about talent. And I was doing some research about, how the market is today, and I stumbled upon an amazing thread on Reddit about overemployment. And apparently, whilst a lot of people struggled during the pandemic, others opened this door of opportunities where they were able to get more than one job, collect more than one paycheck. As someone in this industry, what's your take on this? Like, is that a good thing or bad thing?
From the recruitment perspective, what I can say is that it might seem very interesting and impressive that all right, this guy has multiple job offers, but that person should not only focus on the money side.
But it's not only about offers. It's about like people actually having jobs. Like maybe they took a job without resigning from the previous one.
Yeah. What I can say is that that person who actually has multiple job offers, one of the things that he need to focus or look for is the work stability and work-life balance as well. Because the more the salary is, the more the complex work is actually. What I can say is, I saw one of the guys who got 3 or 4 job offers in hand, and continuously he was still like applying for the jobs, getting interviews, and I think he was only looking for a higher salary package. But I think something happened with his job. He again got again back in the market looking for a job. But now here's the thing: the recruiters, the HRs know him in the market. So what image he got himself in the market is that he might be only looking for a job for a higher pay. Why did he leave the job? What exactly happened? So what advice I can give this kind of a people is actually not just only focus for the salary part, but also search what kind of a company that is. What is the?
I think why someone cares if I got 6 jobs, I wouldn't care losing one.
Yeah, I think also we need to be absolutely clear about what overemployment is.
Yeah.
And this is not just a new buzzword or overpackaged new terminology for freelancers or consultants. We are talking about people who take on full-time, contractually binding employments with multiple employers and working for them full-time.
And most time, employers doesn't know about it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that
It's
is
like dating multiple people at the same time.
exactly. Or as I said before, as being married to 6 guys.
Yeah.
No. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I'm less concerned with people who are overemployed as I would be with people who are either coasting or are incredibly unhappy or quite quitting. I think there is more danger to this type of people and the adverse impact on companies with people who are, like I said, either coasting or quite quitting. I personally, and I know there are a lot of ethical and legal implications around overemployment, but I personally admire people who are so efficient and incredibly talented, who can manage 2 or more jobs in the same space of time as somebody who can only manage one job. And I think people who are overemployed, maybe they learned the hard way. And we're seeing companies being very fast and abrupt when it came to layoffs and redundancies, and how inhuman that could have felt for them. And so this type of employees who are looking for overemployment either have negative or adverse experience with companies, or are looking for different type of flexibility, supplementing their income. But lastly, I think the godfather of overemployment, the famous Isaac, I think he basically nailed it when he said, I was working one job where I was considered high performing, high potential employee, but I was overlooked for promotion. And so now I'm doing a mediocre job at two
Yeah.
companies, collecting more money than I would have as a high achiever, high performer in one company.
But also that's the thing. Like when we talk about overemployment, we like we think of okay, this is a team member, manager, someone, and then on the other side of the world, we go and praise Elon Musk for being CEO of Twitter and Tesla and sending rockets and building tunnels. Like, and for example, right? You mentioned that you are more like looking into the like a headhunting people who are all like and in these high positions, they're like a scarce talent. Do you think it will be like any of your clients would be open to kind of a hire someone or be someone's second job?
I'm not exactly sure how open is the market as of now, although there are quite a few freelancers available in the market. But what I actually found is there has to be a confidentiality which has to be maintained within the companies as well, actually. And so because there are quite a few people who are good at their job, they want to do multiple jobs, but you have to maintain the confidentiality. For example, if I'm a developer, I'm building an application, I can use the same knowledge and a skill and maybe a couple of features that this company wants to build. I can utilize that as well and maybe get a much higher package or a salary. So I think that's one of the things which companies are quite a bit conservative, I would say. So I'm not sure how open the companies are as of now, but I think it will soon because there are quite a few NDAs that the people can sign, but still there is a bit of trust issues, I would say, a confidentiality thing. Yeah.
But I think when we look at employment, we are more harsh than like we always kind of very prone, especially like you guys, you are in HR, like you're kind of always defending a company, in my opinion, or
Not
like
always.
or most of case, because like you know, like in one day, Google woke up and fired 20,000 people. Same did Facebook, and world kind of went silent. Nothing much happened unless like one, two articles. But if one day 20,000 employees would come and resign, it would be crazy, you know? That's why like Amazon is so against like union and unification and all these things. Like, where does this dynamic take? Because at some point we were talking about like it's a talent market, but then pandemic happened. Whose market is this?
Interesting question, but I circle back to what you said about Elon Musk and the multiple jobs he holds. One thing, I mean, and I'm not a huge believer or, of Elon Musk, but one thing he does, he's fairly transparent about all these roles he's having. And so when we speak about overemployment, I would personally be more comfortable. I think there is a place for overemployment in some industries. You can't have a pilot driving two planes, right? You can't have a surgeon operating on two people at the same time necessarily. So I think in some industries, you will have a place for overemployment. But I would be more comfortable if there was more transparency and honesty between both parties, so employers and employees, if they had a more rounded conversation and if the employee could guarantee they're not working for two competing companies and where the data protection obviously is safeguarded and so on. So I think it's, we're circling back to basic premise of trust here and having the right contracts in place, be it contractual obligations, but also the psychological contracts between both parties.
But then, same way, like we are so much okay with freelancers doing that.
Yes, but freelancers are again open about it. When we hire freelancers, we know they're not working just for us.
Yeah.
But they're working for other companies, including competitors. However, they're working in one gig at a time. So they come to us, they complete a gig, and then they go to someone to work for somebody else. And the reason we know that because our freelancers work for us in most of the time in a physical shape and form. So we know where they are, what they do, and they're very transparent about it. And I think that's what I'm trying to highlight around the overemployment is the lack of transparency and honesty, because 90% on Reddit would say J1 doesn't know about J2 and vice versa. So how do we bring more transparency to this? Because I do believe there might be a place for overemployment.
Shall we move to, do you think like world at some point will move to like a gig economy where you do?
I think we're there already.
We are there.
I think so. Look at Uber, Airbnb. I'm not saying they're getting everything right. And there is a lot to say about how they treat employees. but I think we're already experiencing the gig economy. Maybe not to its fullest potential and scale, but I think we're already there.
But then the biggest companies doesn't treat their employees well either, right? Or they do.
No.
With this layoffs, JP Morgans and big companies forcing people to come back to the offices, like why its dynamic became so weird? Like, is it like pandemic, or it was like going there and pandemic kind of fueled it and showed people a different way?
So one of the things which I noticed is that because of this pandemic, people have become so used to working from home. They're so comfortable in their pajamas and they want to do their job. But once this pandemic over, they want the employers want people to come to the office. They like to meet the people. They want to see the faces and everything. But they're so used to working from. They at least need 1 or 2 days a week work from home per week, I would say. So I would say there has to be flexibility from the employers. Are that all right? You can come to the office, but at least 1 or 2 days you can work from home. But I think one of the things is that when you work on site in the office, there is trust, and you can see the people and how they are working, how they are behaving, and everything, I would say.
But do you think then companies kind of fail to put clear goals and to have this clear measurable results? Therefore, they were like, okay, I honestly don't know what this person do. I believe they do something. Let me see them in person. Then I will know that they do something. It's like...
Yeah, I would say. What
I think it's a very outdated way of looking at talent. I agree with you that, one size doesn't fit all. You still have a lot of professions who cannot be simply conducted from home. And then you have a lot of professions where people would prefer hybrid. They would prefer to have the opportunity to work from home or to travel and work whilst they're traveling. But equally, they are seeking human connection. They are seeking collaboration. They're seeking these water cooler moments and, little gossip here and there. So I think one size doesn't fit all. And, at the end of the day, you have to understand what your people want and speak to them. And, we can have a different school of thoughts on this topic. But at the end of the day, it's all about what people want to have and how they want to
Honestly,
operate.
For me, going to office is like, okay, I am present. What else do I need to do? Let me go chat to the person, take a coffee, go for a lunch. Like, kind of, it is a job itself. Like, I think coming to the office should be rewarded because you spend so much time, you choose the clothes, you did like so many things. Like, it's exhausting, and it is exhausting. Also, I realized like I'll call it discrimination, but like the way companies treat certain group of employees, for example, tech talent, very hard to find. They kind of dictate the rules to the market. And you rarely honestly, I don't say like you need a developer in the office because most probably they just don't. But the same way you don't need a copywriter to be in the office.
Yeah.
But like the jobs that are not as competitive or employer have advantage, these people are forced to come to office more often than the others.
Yeah, I think that's why we need a bit of flexibility. I mean, I like to come to the office, to be honest. I think maybe once or twice I do work from home as well, but I think I like to see people, I like to meet people, I like to talk to them. So I think there's an energy, there's a positive vibe actually, I would say. Yes, obviously the developers, they can do their job from home as well, but I think they also nowadays are seen as that they want to meet people because working from home, I think they are feeling a lack of enthusiasm, I would say, because all the time they're on the laptop, they're coding whole day and nothing, and they're not meeting new people. It's just the film itself and everything. So I think they like to come to the office nowadays, but at obviously a bit of a hybrid working culture, I would say.
Lucia, like before pandemic, everyone had this like a cubicles, boring office, and then pandemic happened, and everyone was like, "Okay, we had a great culture, come back," and they added pizza to it. What is the company culture like? Explain me, like, what is company culture like?
I mean, Vugar, a very simple question, but more complex answer. I mean, culture is such a big topic to dive into, and culture is definitely not pizza party or box of donuts. And you know my views on that. And if companies want to get people back into the office and they want to see my bum on the seat, they have to do way more than just offer me fruit basket every Tuesday. And, to attract people to come back to the office, again, it needs to come with a lot of hybrid caveat to that. We need to have a lot of flexibility. We need to make sure and ensure that we give our people so much more. And we need to start with the basics. Number one, people, especially in the current climate, still seek security and safety.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking for an employment. Nobody will guarantee you will have the same job for 10 years. But to some extent, just look at the basic Maslow hierarchy of needs. People crave at the basic level safety and security. They want to be able to provide for themselves and for their families, especially here in this region. Look at the schooling fees, look at the rental fees and so on. So if you satisfy that, the basic needs, people also look up to or question who my manager is, who is looking after me, how is my manager speaking to me and with me, how is my manager growing me. People expect way more than just pizza parties. I don't think that worked before pandemic. I think that pizza parties or the box of donuts was more of a ritual than a part as an extensive part of a culture. And I think we would be fooling ourselves if we ever believed that pizza was moving the needle.
Why does companies still want to bring people back? Like, you talk to a lot of candidates, I'm sure, and a lot of companies, like, do candidates want to go to the office? So, like, has anyone ever told that, oh, this job is remote, I don't want it, I want to go to the office? Seriously?
Not really, I would say. But I'll tell you one thing. So one of the previous companies which I worked with, CEO told me that he wants to see people in the office. He wants to communicate directly with the employees. He wants to share the vision. When you work offline, there's always a barrier. I would say there's always a wall between in terms of communication, I would say. So the CEO wanted to meet the people. He wanted to communicate with the employees, each and every single employee. He wanted to build the trust, actually. He wanted to see the faces, actually. I think this is one of the reasons why the employees are actually asking to come to the office, maybe attend an event or have a party or something like that. It's more of a trust building, to be honest. You could track people, their work offline or online, but I would say it's like a micromanagement thing. So I think this is one of the things which I would say employees are asking their employees to come to the office, to build the trust, to see the faces, to share the vision directly with them, so that they will be more productive.
But like, the same way when these employees are fired, they're fired over the email.
Exactly.
Over a call. No one brings them to the office to have that face to face. Like, I think it's not like I read this funny tweet. It was telling like all these like unhappy married people who want to come to the office and bring everyone to the office. But like, Lucia, like, you work in a company that creates these amazing experiences. Like, isn't there a way to build that culture and experiences online?
Potentially, but I also would argue that, to your point, I think we need to compartmentalize a few things here. Every company has different reasons why they want to bring people to the office. Some have more ulterior motives than others. Some just want to be control freaks and micromanage things and making sure that nobody's overemployed. And then you have companies who genuinely care about people, or you have, management who genuinely care about people. And for example, in our line of work or in our industry, that collaboration, that creative synergy doesn't happen when you are connected virtually, when you are working online, because it's the brainstorming session. Now, once we have that creative kickoff and that brainstorming session is kind of completed, and we have agreed on a certain concept, and 2D knows what they're doing and 3D knows what they're doing, and the creative director knows and the production team knows. Yeah, they go off and they put a head down and they work for solid, 4 to 6 hours a day. And the need for interaction lessens, or is not necessarily as prevalent. So again, I'm just circling back to this flexibility and options to work in a hybrid way. And again, it will vary from industry to industry. Now, if you're a developer or if you're just coder and doing one repetitive task after another, and there is no need for meetings, or necessarily people don't necessarily enjoy interacting with people, then that person would be more inclined to ask to work from home. And I would suggest to companies maybe let them, just allow them, just meet them
Meet them in the middle.
in the middle, or compromise, or find ways. But again, it's all about communication and really understanding your people and your industry, and enabling both and being flexible. We're expecting people to be flexible and agile, and we're throwing all these buzzwords around. But the companies need to walk the walk, and they need to understand that it's a two-way relationship. If you really want to retain the talent, you need to work with the talent, not against the talent.
That leads to this question of mine: hiring talent, retaining talent, which I know like it goes both to hand, like you need to have the good talent and you need to make sure you retain it, but like which is more important than the other?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think both are incredibly important.
Yeah, equally important. I would say retention is one of the things I would say is equally important, because
And you do headhunting. I'm sure you make money every time someone leaves and comes in.
I know. It's my job, I have to push them to work with us. So one of the things which I can say is that both of the things are equally important, but retention, what I can say is that when a person is working for an employer, the employee is looking for more than just work, just salary. Why they would look for a new job? Because I think they're not gaining any new knowledge. They're not learning. One of the things which I mostly ask with while interviewing candidates is that what exactly is your motivation for a new job, apart from the salary itself, obviously. They would say almost 70 or 80% of the time it says that we are not learning any new thing. We have been doing a job since a long time. We have become experts in our own domain, but there's nothing new. How will I grow myself? I want to grow. There's so many technologies. There's so many things going on in the market. If I'm not learning anything, then I think I'm not growing. So that is one of the things. In this case, I would say the employers, they really have to speak with their employees, train them. There's a career and learning and development programs that needs to be initialized, I would say. And that's how you will retain your employees. It's not only about the salary or just the work, to be honest.
I think it boils down to also people feeling appreciated and respected and heard. They need to have a voice at the table.
Yeah.
Just one thing you mentioned, I just want to build on that, is around, retaining the talent is not an easy task. And I wouldn't say that, when you ask about hiring versus retaining, I think both are incredibly important.
Yeah.
People or good companies, they take time to hire the right talent. They take time. They're not trying to find shortcuts and just hire the talent for the sake of hiring, but they really pay attention to hiring the right people for the right roles, because they truly want to avoid this whole element of layoffs and redundancies down the road. And then once you hire that talent, you really ought to take care of that talent. And again, engagement surveys are quite telling, but one that really stands out for me, because I looked into that and I said, what scores the highest usually at successful companies or companies that are known for a good culture, is they often achieve almost 100% around a statement, I feel proud working for my company. And that score is higher than anything around compensation or even learning and development. So your retention strategies, again, is not one size fits all, but it speaks to the basic of human nature, and people want to feel proud about what they do and who they work for. And yes, they need to grow, and we need all the L&D strategies. We need the right compensation. We need so much of everything to retain people nowadays.
But do you think it's more about being proud? For example, working, let's say I work at Google, I'm proud because it's big name, everyone knows, rather than working like a X random company. But even you are proud and everything is good, the next day you're just shut off at 3 a.m. You can't, I have access because now you are laid off. Like, is that kind of proud, or it is like how you are made or how you feel at your work? Or what's the...
I think it's not a big name, big fancy name. In fact, ask any Amazon employee how they feel about
Yeah.
working for them. I just finished reading Dan Lyon's book, and he called Amazon a sociopath of Silicon Valley. So that's quite telling. I'm not sure. I don't want to elaborate on that. But I think it's the everyday actions that the company takes and the way they treat employees that makes that employee have that sense of pride. It's not necessarily the flashy name. It's the little things that matter.
And we were talking about this massive layoffs and how it brought to like a crazy culture of overemployed people like always looking for an alternative. And as you do like headhunting, and I'm sure that I'm not sure, maybe you can tell us, but my feeling is that today there are more people most probably responding to headhunters than before, because recently whenever I reach out to someone, I haven't seen anyone rejecting until now. I'm super happy. Everyone is like leaving that small door open, telling like, okay, tell me more. I am not sure. Maybe I'm not like fully looking for, but like, what is that? Like, everyone is curious. Everyone has their CV ready somewhere. It's not like, oh, I need to work on my CV. Like, if you call, I'm sure almost 90% of
Yeah. I think one of the things is that they actually want to know what kind of salaries are there in the market, to be honest. That's why that little door is always open. They want to know, all right, what my competitors are paying for the same role. They always want to know what kind of salaries are they getting in the market. They might be quite comfortable in their job, but there's always a thing that, all right, can I be paid more? How is the market and everything? So I would say it's more of a just getting to know more about the market actually.
like, imagine like someone works in their dream job in the best company with the best culture, 100%, I'm happy score.
What's the name of the company?
Hypothetical one. Like, what is that money factor? Like, what is the increase, like maybe in percentage that you think people will say like, no, I don't care. Like, I'll take that new opportunity, even if I'm working in the best heavenly place. I just want to understand like where this hunt ends.
I think it depends. It depends. You have obviously different types of individuals, but if there are people who have learned the hard way what it means to be suddenly without a job, and they went through that hardship, they will be more careful or conscious about the steps they would take in the future. They would know what it means to them around the security. Also, we have people who might be married and have children and have mortgages, and they don't have that financial safety, so they will tread more carefully than others. But if you're a person who might not necessarily just be single or not in a relationship, but if you're a person who is highly motivated by money, and you feel that your value is higher than the company that offers you, and you want to take that risk that your next boss might be a sociopath or somebody who doesn't treat you well, but money is more important to you, might want to take that risk and go for more money. But then at some point, I would argue that certain other elements would motivate you more than just the paycheck. And I think people need to go through the motion of testing whether the grass is really greener on the other side. I even spoke and experienced people who moved companies for less money because they were more respected, they were more valued, they were working on a cool project, they felt empowered and engaged, and whatever they were getting from that job intrinsically was way more than the paycheck. And so they would take jobs for less money. That's
from
my
headhunting
views.
perspective, like, what is that extra money incentive to move these people who really like the culture and who have mortgages, who are very careful? Like, what's like a too good offer to refuse?
See, I'll tell you one
Sell
thing.
your soul.
Sell your soul.
I'll tell you. See, while headhunting, it is not always about the money, to be honest. Because when I post a job, there are 2,000 applications that they are actually in the need of job and the money. But when I headhunt, they're not always only focusing on the money. They're actually looking for the X factor. Like, all right, I was working in this company. I've spent so many years. I've been doing the same job. But now what's next? All right, this recruiter has approached me for this company. How can I contribute here? How can I be valued here? What will be my positions and everything? So money is not obviously the factor in headhunting. I would say the people are more interested to know what kind of work will I do in the future and to contribute on the business or the personality or the anything, to be honest.
And you just mentioned that for average position, you get like 2,000 CVs.
Yeah, literally, yeah. I mean, like it's sometimes more than that as well, actually.
And all these people are kind of job seekers, or they're employed and they're looking for.
I would
What's the
say,
trend today?
yeah. So I would say out of, for example, out of 2,000 applications, 50% are kind of irrelevant because they would just apply for the job because they're in the need of job. 50% out of 50%, I would say like 20% are actually employed. They're already working. They just want to know this, how the market is, about the salary thing, and rest would be actually applying for the job. Yeah.
And I think it depends from region to region as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
for
yeah,
example, Imagination is a global company or global agency. And so I remember we were posting a job for a production manager, right? So events production manager, and we received over 2,000 applications. And my colleague in UK was very jealous because he said, when I post, I get 10 resumes, I get 10 applications. And so he was jealous about the 2,000. I was like, don't be jealous. I have to go through those. I have to sift through, because to your point, a lot of those are just people trying luck. They're not even in the same industry. They don't even have the right experience. That would, they didn't even read the job description. They just
easy apply.
I wonder if there's like some automatic application process happening, because I see some usual suspects in whatever position we post as the same people, and the resumes seem to be quite repetitive. So once we sift through, you will end up with, maybe if you're lucky, you end up with 50 solid resumes that would really fit the job description.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think Dubai is quite a transient city, so people come and go. People are attracted to come to Dubai in many aspects. So we get a lot of applications from outside of UAE.
Do you think that companies know what they're looking for? Because if you go today to any large job portal, name it LinkedIn, you'll see like 90% of job descriptions are literally copy-paste.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you. So the companies, they actually know what they're looking for. But nowadays the trend is like, they want someone who will do 10 jobs actually, which is actually
flying unicorns.
Yeah. So sometimes they would post job from ChatGPT or something, but sometimes when they post job, they are actually looking for someone who will do 2 jobs, 3 jobs. So it's like this, to be honest. Yeah.
From my perspective, I think it, again, varies from industry to industry. I think I'm very biased, but at Imagination, we know exactly what we're looking for, because
Is it reflected on like a job description?
100%. Like in our case, it is. It has to be, because we are operating in a very lean environment. Even when I talk about, for example, production manager, we even narrow it down. Are we looking for somebody who understands digital and technical, or are we looking for a stage manager? And again, in our industry, we partner with Permalancers. It's a way better way of operating for us to know.
What is the Permalancer?
So Permalancer is a freelancer who you hire over and over again. So gig after gig, you hire that freelancer who, if they like you, they end up working with you for multiple gigs, with some breaks in between, but they have their own visa, they have their own freelance setup. They are from often different countries. So we often find the talent in our industry scarce in Middle East. I know it will change, but at the moment we often rely on freelancers or permalancers from Australia, UK,
We'll fly
US.
down for the project.
We fly them in, we fly them into the country, we pay them for the gig. Often it can range from a few weeks to 4 months. But when they finish, they finish. So they collect their money, they finish, and if we treated them well and we have another gig, they will come back. And so we often find the same people coming and working for us. So instead of being employed by us and we calling them employees, we call them permalancers, because it's a freelancer who tend to work for us for a
Wouldn't
long
make
time.
it sense, because normally all these companies would try to at some point hire these freelancers or part-timers to a full-time job, and it was kind of a career growth path in like a traditional setup. But now, do you think it's more of people want to be their own independent entity and sell their talent to multiple buyers?
Well, our industry is so it fluctuates a lot. So we cannot always guarantee the pipeline of work or pipeline of events or gigs or consultancy work that we do. So it would be not beneficial to us or even the permalancer or freelancer to bring them on board as a full-time employees and grow them from within, because a lot of freelancers, they're very clear about what they want to do. They're very good at what they do. They have a very niche qualification or very niche experience and skill set, and they want to take that skill set. So let's say stage manager, they love what they do. They genuinely are very passionate about what they do. But what drives them is 1 month I'm in US working on
Taylor Swift.
and then I'm in Saudi Arabia helping Imagination to deliver another event, and then I'm going to Australia, or I'm going to work on an opening ceremony for Olympic Games, or then I'm going to UK, or I'm just going to finish this gig and I'm going to take 2 months off. So I think, like I said, as long as that relationship is two-way street and it's open and transparent and both parties get what they need to get out of this relationship and both parties are happy, let's not reinvent the wheel.
Then does it mean like the more niche talent you have, more kind of you dictate the rules that you want, like you want to take off, you do? Because like I know you worked in the medical industry, and in medical industry you have this like a very esteemed neurosurgeon who teaches and who operates in 5 clinics and see patients privately, and no one judges them.
And they shouldn't. I think when the talent is so scarce, I know there are professions where you can, okay, so there is a profession where we were searching for the right talent. I realized, I learned to know that is apparently only maybe 5 people who actually can do what they say they can do. So if there's only 5
Entire
people
world.
in an entire world, so only 5 people could do the one specific job we wanted to hire them. They were not available. And so we shouldn't be judging them. It's not their fault that there is not enough people interested in XYZ. It's not their fault. So why would we judge them? If there is a robotic heart surgeon who is 1 of 5 or 1 of 10 who can operate a certain machine, or who can operate in a certain way, and they're incredibly good at what they do, I think we just, companies or hospitals or environments just need to be better at replicating the talent or encouraging new talent to come into the market. There are a lot of jobs with such niche titles. There are jobs that we don't even know will exist in 5 or 10 years' time. And so we need to be ready for that influx of new talent, new roles, new skill set. And some people prefer to be specialized in something very, very niche.
I like where you are taking us with this discussion, and everyone is telling like AI is coming for our jobs. A lot of people will lose their jobs, especially who are not specialized, who are having a repetitive jobs. Like, what do you see in the market? And it's like, are there more need for specialists, or do we still need the generalists?
Yeah, I think the specialist will always be needed even to develop the AI, to be honest. So there will be jobs in the market, but yes, because of the tech and all of the technologies, AI might take over, but there will always be in the need of a person who will have to direct the AI actually. Because, even the computer was built by a person, So, yeah.
That's true. It's like a more educated person, right? And it takes a lot of money and effort to educate that person.
I think just drawing parallel to, again, medical industry, I mean, if I was a doctor, I would put my ego aside. And if there was a tool, AI-powered tool that can diagnose a cancer much faster and more accurately than me, then please do so. But I know that I would still be passionate about what I do, and I still would think there is a place for me because I would be the one treating the patient. I would be the one managing patients' expectations or liaising with the family or teaching new generation of surgeons or whatnot. So I genuinely believe that technology and AI can coexist with people, and we just need to find that synergy.
Honestly, I'm so much in love with AI, especially in the a framework of.
So why we're here?
I'm coming there, the HR relationship, because all the time my HR friends would complain that there's not enough good talent, and then all job seekers would complain that HRs and companies are looking for differently able talent who does a million things at a time. And now job descriptions are created by AI, and then CVs are tailored to these keywords, and now you got this a perfect job and perfect candidate on the paper. What we gonna do next?
I mean, they still need to be interviewed, to be honest. It's not only about the skills that a person is bringing, but how he is going to work for the company. What will be his behavior? How will he perform? So I think AI can do it, but still, I think in the initial phases, the person, I mean, the recruiters or the HRs, they will have to talk to the person to know the person better,
Don't
actually.
you think like your life will be hard? Now you will have
Yeah.
2,000 perfect CVs. You have to do like a 2,000 calls.
It does take a lot of time, actually, but I would say for now, it is what it is, actually.
Called me old-fashioned, but when I create job description, I like to talk to the line managers and ask them, what is this person going to actually do? Just, you know, just let's cut through the BS and tell me, if we hire the ideal candidate, what will they do day in, day out? And then we will put that on the paper, so in the proverbial job description.
Yeah.
And I see your point, Bukar. I totally agree. When I see these job descriptions on LinkedIn, they're copy and paste or repackaged with different buzzwords. I don't think that serves well the company or the future employees. One thing we do at Imagination is when we hire people and they complete 3 months of onboarding, we send them a survey of how they feel about the company. But one of the questions is, was there a gap between the job description we presented to you and what you are actually doing? And the score is telling. It's very high, so we're doing well, but it is very, to me as a HR professional, and I know there are many people like myself, it's very important to us. We are not deceiving people. We are trying to lure them with honesty and transparency and asking them to, or telling them they will do certain tasks, and then the reality corresponds with what we tell them in our job descriptions and adverts.
And what happens when you find this perfect candidate with the exact skill set you need, let's say very esteemed tech talent,
I celebrate.
and then you realize that they're not a good person, there's not a cultural fit, or they have everything perfect, they're out of your budget? How do you compensate or negotiate?
So much to
Man.
steal.
I really do not know how to answer that, to be honest, because if a person, if he likes the job, if he's getting the salary that he needs, but if he gets a counter offer, which with a bigger salary or something, regardless of anything, he will accept that offer. There's nothing much you can do, although you can speak with the person, you can tell about the company's culture or events that you do, lucrative packages, about the colleague supportive and everything. But I think you can only know more about the company in depth once you join the company. But before that, if the person is getting an offer more than that, what he got the offer, he will just move it.
I think your question was around what would we do if we find a perfect talent, but then when the talent joins, performs well, but they don't behave or have a toxic, has a bad character,
okay.
is it toxic to the environment?
Or you find the perfect candidate, but they want for more money.
What do you mean?
Or
Sorry,
you
say
found
again?
an perfect candidate, but who wants for above the budget money.
I think there's a limit. So again, we need to compartmentalize it. So the first, the first time you phrase the question is, what would we do if we find a perfect candidate and he or she fits all the boxes, and then they become, it become evident they are not behaving in the most ethical manner or become an a-hole or whatever. Then, it's I would always say, don't put profits or necessarily, don't put profits before the right culture. You have to protect the culture. You have to safeguard the right culture because it impacts every single person. And seeing if employees see that you have the star performer who is incredible at what they do, they're technically gifted, they know exactly what they're doing, and they bring so much value to the table. But in the same time, they're treating their colleagues or their direct reports in a very unethical, borderline abusive manner. Then my recommendation to companies is don't tolerate that. It's bad for the culture, it's bad for the people around them, and in the long run, it causes more harm than good. And I would never prioritize that technical skill set before the behavior. I think ideally you want both, but I think in my world, in my view, I know what would win at the end of the day.
I have a serious question, and I kept it for the last. In many countries now, there's like these laws that there should be salary transparency, and salary should be on a job description. We don't have it in this region, but like as a professional, do you think it's better to have it or not? Because there's also a huge trend. I realize that sometimes you have X number of people already working in a similar position. They get certain, salary, and then newcomers are offered a better package. And if or when there's a salary transparency, these people will come and ask for money, and all you have to like elevate everyone's salaries, and it brings like. On the other side, I think whenever you have this salary transparency, you don't get 2,000 CVs because now people know what they're applying for, what they're getting into. Like, where is the right balance? Do you think it's better to have it or not?
I think it's less relevant whether you have it or not, because especially in this region, word of mouth is so powerful. And whether you publish it or not, people talk.
Yeah, exactly.
People talk internally. So
Yeah.
to your point, it's not just when you're hiring a new talent and whether you publish or not publish the salaries. Even from a point of retention, you have to create an environment where people feel they're equitably paid in comparison to their colleagues who do the same or similar job. So you can't create that unbalance within your own company just from the point of retention. And people talk, whether we like it or not, whether companies put policies in place or not. The human nature is that people will talk to each other, and when they feel there's something unfair happening, they will talk and they will walk out, or they will talk, or they will ask for more money. That's one thing. And then the second thing is it's a very bad kept secret in a recruitment industry that it's easier for people or more profitable to people to job hop and change jobs, because even if their employer, the current employer, would increase the salary, we're talking about 3-5% if you're lucky. If you're really lucky, you might get 10%, but if you change jobs, you might get 30-40% more money. So I think it's one thing is transparency, but I think whether you publish it or not, I think companies, especially in our roles as a HR professionals, it is our duty of care to ensure that our benchmarks are done on a regular basis, that we create the ranges that fit internal benchmarks and external benchmarks. And even if, and in my world and in my current company, I don't care if people talk, because they will not find anything different. They will actually appreciate that we have brought a lot of equitability to how we operate. And last thing I would like to say on this topic, especially in this region, I categorically disagree with paying people based on their nationality.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a very
And I
big,
leave it at that.
painful topic.
Yeah.
And I think that is one thing that stops many companies from that salary transparency.
Yeah. There have been situations where the company is asking me to hire someone who is working outside the UAE from a specific countries, and we cannot pay them because their salaries already here in UAE is like way too high, to be honest. I mean, just based on the nationality or the passport, I mean, it should not be there, because for recruiters and the HRs, it's a way too difficult job, even for explaining to the people who are doing the same job. They would ask like, all right, I mean, I'm doing the same job. I'm here in UAE. I've been here in the market since 10 years. This guy come in and he is holding an XYZ passport. Why is he getting paid more than me? So that is something which it's actually, I mean, I don't know how to.
Yeah.
But do you think if companies publish the salaries, there would be more transparency in this term? Because then before you apply, you know how much that position is paying, not depending who is the candidate.
I think it would save companies the time, because the sooner the person will eventually find out how much you're paying. And so what sometimes or often happens is you start recruitment, and I try to be as transparent as possible in my first call with a person. Yeah. So we're not, we're guilty of not publishing the salaries, but I know it will save me and everybody around me so much time if I'm just as transparent as possible during my first call. And also, when we finally find a candidate, we tend to bring them back into the office and speak with them again and say, okay, this is your job description. You already know your salary, but this is your job description. Do you have any questions? Like giving that person an additional time, an additional opportunity to either ask any questions, to clarify anything, because sometimes it's not just about the pay, it's about the policies and the way we operate. What is the dress code? What is the working from home policy? What is the for some women? It's very important. What is the maternity leave look like? And so we really want to have that rounded conversation, not just at the forefront of the interview process, but also at the end. And I rather cut my losses during the interview process than hiring a person who, after 2 weeks, would come to me and say, you know what, it sounded so much different, or I envisioned something completely different to what I actually am getting.
Expectations versus reality.
Yeah, exactly.
I have the one last question for both of you. Like, for you, Anuj, I want to, like, what's your biggest tip for hiring the best tech talent? And for you, Lucia, what is your tip for retaining best tech talent?
Okay, you go first.
I mean, I would say you have to be transparent. Please mention only the things which you know. I mean, you can do the Google search while doing the interviews. You can say that, yes, I know this, I know that I can do this and I can do that. But I would say, please be honest with yourself and only mention the things that you actually know and you have expertise. Because if you mention things, for example, if you clear the interview, you're onboarded and it seems like that you're not doing the job, you're back to square one. You're again back in the market looking for a job, because obviously if you're not able to do the things that we have hired you for, but
what about employer or headhunting perspective? Like, how do you, or where do you look for the best tech talent?
So about the headhunting, what I can tell you is that we know how to approach the right person. We exactly know about the person, what he has been doing so far, what exactly is his skills, because we really deep down ask literally everything about that person and what the kind of work that he has been doing so far. So headhunting is, I would say, it's one of the best way to hire the people actually, because you know the person in and out. Posting the job and people applying to the job and then screening them, most of the time it's like, I can do this, I can do that, and I can do this as well. They're kind of a yes man, but it's not exactly, I would say, appropriate.
And retaining talent, again, one size doesn't fit all. And it's a very, very multifaceted answer. And we're talking about multiple elements that would lead to the right retention of the talent. But from my perspective, what I would like to see more of in the market, and irrespective whether the company operates in a fully remote or hybrid or office environment, I would like to see the ratio between, I don't know, it's very selfish, but the ratio of people and culture operations team, the ratio to the employee should really improve. Really invest in your people operations team. And I do believe that people and profit can coexist, just like technology and people can coexist. Companies' profit and people can coexist, and they don't have to be, they don't have to negate each other. And so you really, if you claim to look after your people, you need to invest in your people and culture operations team. And caveat to that would be, and once you have that amazing team of people and culture professionals, these people need to they need to partner really, really well with the rest of the business. The partnership between the middle line management and middle line managers and people and culture professionals is incredibly important from so many aspects, whether you're trying to achieve your L&D agenda, whether you're trying to have the right compensation or the right engagement initiatives. That collaboration, that three-way collaboration between the employees, the line managers, and people and culture professionals need to improve, need to be more honest, and need to be more transparent. And we need to be very honest with each other that, that collaboration, that partnership needs to improve.
Utopically, I was thinking, like, what if there will be a world where we would be posting our CVs and companies would apply with the job description? That would be like a good turning table. Thank you for the talk today. I was your host, Ugar Zade, and we had Lucia and Anuj.